Alright, guys, hello again to the Lost Raiders. Glad to have you along. We are going to take a look today. I'm not flexing, I swear. That was just a coincidence. Ignore that. I got to get my red dots off here. But today, what we're going to do is just a quick update video, and I want to talk about what Raid does to balance the game. I wasn't reading that, but it sounded like I did. What do they do to balance the game? And I'm talking specifically about champions. Champions, we've heard a lot from content creators. I hear a lot on Discord from champions that are busted. The arena's busted, blah, blah, blah. The arena is very hard. That has its own issues, and I'm going to make a video about that, I think, as well. Really expressing my views on arena. But for right now, what I want to address is how Raid has gone about so far balancing their champions and keeping the game fair and competitive. And so I'm going to start that with someone right down here. We have to go to the index because unfortunately do not sadly have said champion who is quote-unquote busted. Tormund the Cold. Very, very cool champion. Obviously, everyone wishes that they had him. There's not one person who would wish that they didn't have him. He has got the coolest hammer ever. I mean, come on, that's awesome. Basically, they came out with Tormund as a result of what is commonly referred to as the speed meta in Arena. He was the counter that Raid came out with in order for there to be more variety and more, let's see, how do I want to put this? There was more ways to win in Arena than just being the fastest. And so they came out with Tormund because they wanted people to have a chance to counter the speed meta. And they did it through this passive, and this passive has been nerfed. It's one of the few they actually did. It was broken when it was first came out. It basically buffed itself on anything that you did. Pretty much the only thing that it didn't do was if you attacked you were attacked. It was the only thing that didn't seem to activate this passive. So it was definitely over the top, overkill, and they fixed it. It still is very, very powerful. You pretty much can almost not face him unless you've got your entire arena team in immunity gear, or you've got a Dark Elhain. It's very, very tough to face him because when you try and use your speed lead to buff your entire team, it activates and freezes everyone either getting that speed buff or increasing the turn meter. The only one you can really, I think you can do it with a few champions who attack and then decrease the opponent's turn meter, so your turn meter as a Tormund team would get reduced. That would not activate it, but anything else still has a very large chance. So, but what it was an example of Raid not nerfing speed, but buffing everyone who had the chance to get this character. Now, of course, he's a Void Legendary, and that was the only real issue with that, was it only affected a small percentage of the Raid population, so it didn't really help most of us very much. And in fact, for a lot of us, it actually just created an even bigger problem, because now you had teams, you had these Tormund teams that you couldn't attack at all, and you were already struggling to move up. But that's what they did. That was one of the first steps that they did that I noticed. And then moving on, they needed to, and I've already mentioned her, they needed to counterbalance Tormund, because we had nothing anybody could do to stop a Tormund. And then, so and I just said, it made it a problem so that we could not, as a free-to-play or low-spend player, or just really unlucky, you had nothing you could do to counter a Void Legendary. And so they came out with this free-to-play version. Everybody gets this champion, Dark Elhain. And to me, that was one of the great things that they've done. And I mean, I'm not the fanboy of Raid, Shadow Legends, or Polarium here, okay? I'm just explaining my point of view, and you can agree with it or not, but I think it's a very smart way of going about it, because when you nerf characters, you upset your player base, and especially if they invested a lot into the player or into the character. So I think it's very smart to not touch champions to make them weaker, rather make everybody else stronger. Or if there's a specific thing you can do, like with Dark Elhain, she has got this passive, and this passive specifically was designed to counteract Tormund, and everybody gets this counteract, this champion to counteract him now. And so that's a great idea. That's a great idea. He's still really powerful. You still really don't want to face him. Even with her, you're taking your life into your hands every time you go into the arena. It still could use a little work, according to some folks, because what happens is she buffs herself after she instantly, if she gets frozen or an ally gets frozen, she buffs herself, and then she gets frozen, and she doesn't get to counterattack. So that's kind of still not quite right. But there's ways to get around that. You can put an immunity set on her, and then you're fine. But this was one of the ways, again, that they did that. I think that's very smart. So we also had a couple of other things. We have had, as an example, actually, you know what, I'm going to go back in there real quick, because with what's going on, we just started the event for the Shard Fragments Summer Bash Extravaganza. That's a little over the top, but that's my bad, not theirs. We have characters like Catacomb Counselor, who has an ally attack. Very, very good, very powerful. It's the next best thing to having a counterattacker in the game. You can use this on Clan Boss, you can use this in the arena. It is super powerful. But he's an epic. He's not a void epic, so he's not that hard to get, but they decided to make a legendary champion who does the same thing, because there is only Catacomb Counselor and I believe 2 legendaries who do that right now. Don't know, do I want to go try and find them right now? Let's see. Is it him? Oh, I got him. Longbeard attacks with 4 allies, so they got that. But it's a very valuable skill, and they have been very reluctant to give anyone a counterattacker. I think this is their way of trying to avoid giving everyone a counterattacker. I think they want to keep that extremely valuable, but they've come out with this fusion, or it's not a fusion. I'm going to call it a fusion forever, because that's what it feels like. Let's go in here. The Summer Smash Fragment event. That doesn't really roll off the tongue, to be honest. Kreela Witcharm, and she does a couple of really interesting things. Kreela Witcharm, that's the event. I think I had to remind myself who she actually is, so I could go find her, because she should be in here. Here she is. I love it. I can actually look and see and tell which one is which. It's very hard with some of these factions, I gotta tell you. So she's got this one. This is a nice thing. Attacks all enemies. This is the one right here. Places a stun and teams up with 3 random allies. And they're going to give everyone a chance, if they've got enough resources, to go and do this. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But, again, what they're doing is they're adding people to the game that everyone has got a really good shot of getting, that are very valuable skills in the game. And I think that's very, very, very smart. So one of the things that everyone complained about was we didn't have an AoE stun champion. We had Miscreated Monster and, who was it, Trunda? And that was it. And very hard for people to get. So they gave, again, everyone gets this character, Seal of the Drakes, as I call her. She's got this, and it's a very powerful skill, I can tell you. When I get this fully mastered, because she is not fully up yet, she is not going to be, it's going to be 75 to 100% every single time. It is such a good skill. It does hit fairly hard. I wish it hit a little harder, but it does hit fairly hard without doing too much work on it. But again, this is what they do. They make sure that we get access to champions and to specific skills in the game that are very hard to get, but are very important to being able to advance and progress in the game. And I really like that they've done that. They've done a lot of things that are not awesome, but that is one of the things I've seen, and I want to call out that they've done. That's been very positive. Looking back here, hold on a second. All right, we're going to get the red dot off. It just drives me nuts. Nope, nothing there. Only looking for shards. Okay, so going back in here, I guess I'm going to show you... Who was the other one that we've been talking about? Oh, we've been talking a lot about... Okay. The Busted and the Busted's Bride. Or Groom. Pardon me. Champions that are really great. I mean, I don't even hardly see this character in my place in Arena because she's so good. She just completely... It's just insane. She heals everyone by 15%. That's 5% better than Seal of the Drakes. But notice they gave us a character that did do that. 10% only. So a little bit less, but it makes sense because this is a Void Legendary, not a regular Legendary. Also has the chance to do this. This is pretty crazy. Also removes all debuffs from Rhodos. I like this, and I don't think this is broken just because of the fact that you have to get the both of them, which is very difficult. This is pretty crazy. Revives a single ally with a full turn meter. It was pretty nuts. A lot of great buffs, and this sleep one is just crazy. It's just crazy. It cannot be resisted. Once you get it booked, it's 100% chance. That's very tough to deal with. It really is. And then Rhodos has this passive, which is actually pretty easy to deal with, to be honest. I mean, people complain about it, but you know, it means you can't just one-shot him. One shot being the operative point. If you've got a champion that hits 2 times, you are fine, and it's the same as one-shotting, as in you one-attacked them. If you've got someone, I use Steel Boyer on that guy. He's fine. Again, I mean, he's crazy, but you can beat him. It's not like it's the end of the world. And then you've got block revive champions. That's the one thing that I'm looking for coming up, is either they're going to change block revive, because he's got that on his skill set. They're either going to make it so you have to have accuracy on it, I hope, or they're just going to give us more options to do that. I kind of hope they don't, just because I like revive champions, and I wish that they were a little bit more relevant, because they're kind of not relevant. I've got one here that I like. I've been testing out. He's pretty cool. He's on my free-to-play account right here. Do not have him right now. Daywalker. I like him. Some people are going to say he's not that great. He's okay. He's actually okay. It's a pretty cool kit. He's got an ally protection, blocks debuffs on himself, and also removes all debuffs from himself, so that's good. He's going to protect your team. This one is pretty decent. So the way you build this guy, you don't build him with HP, you build him as an absolute glass cannon, pretty much. Because you want him to double hit on this. It's a very powerful hit. You don't need to build him with a lot of crit in the arena, because he's got this in the arena battles. You want him as your lead. You want him as your lead, so you can build crit damage on him. And then this is the key. Revives him and attacks all enemies after being killed. So this is a really cool skill, but if you've got everyone with block revive, you cannot use this skill. And that's probably why most people are down on him. But I think there should be a chance. I think if with everything else, like decreasing turn meter, if you're going to place any debuff, any instant thing that you do to the enemy, you've got to have accuracy except for block revive. That doesn't make any sense to me. So, but this is really good. And he comes back and he hits everyone. He hits everyone and it will crit. So you can just imagine, he's protecting your whole team. They kill him. He comes back, whacks them all, and now he's still alive. And you've just taken a big chunk out of them. It's one of the ways that, again, this is something you can do to combat the speed meta in the arena, is to use things like this, passives. So it's just a matter of you being creative in order to be competitive. There's so many ways to win at this game. It's crazy. But when you're talking about Sifi and Rhodos, there are champions that can counteract them. There are definitely champions that can counteract them. He ignores defense. That's another thing that he does. Is it this one or is A3? It is his A3. This one is crazy. Ignores so much defense. Ignores unkillable and block damage. And he gets an extra turn if he kills the enemy. The only thing this doesn't have is like resets it if it works. That would be completely broken. And then this one here, this makes him good against bosses. And he can also get an extra turn from that as well. So, I mean, obviously you do that, you put him in a relentless set, the guy's just nuts. But, hey, if you're faster, like I said, you can use a rare. Let me show you. I already have got the video out. Steel Boyer does not suck. She does not suck. She is a very decent champion for a rare. She's got this skill right here. When I face Rotos teams, what do? I use this skill. I don't use the skill I normally use on the first turn, which is this one. Attacks all enemies. It increases according to max HP. I get the decreased defense on, and I take Rotos out. I take him out. Now, if he's with a Sifi, I'm probably not going to see them in silver anyway, but obviously it wouldn't do that much good for me. But this one right here, this is a perfectly decent skill to take out Rotos. So I don't understand why people think they've got to nerf him. I honestly don't. We've got another character here. Another one of my characters I use. Orcs. Great champion. Everybody knows. One of the best. Zargala. What does she do? She attacks 3 times. Rotos just doesn't give you the ability to one-shot him, as in a literal strike, one strike. If you've got more than one, you're fine. You're going to be able to take him out. So I use her to debuff with decreased defense, and then she hits 3 times. Ideally, she takes out about 50% anyway, and then Boyer cleans it up. It's not broken. It's not broken. So that's just a little bit about how they balance. I guess a little bit of my rant about how they balance things in Raid. Then we're looking at this new champion. This new champion looks pretty good. She really does look pretty good. But is she worth it, and is she gettable for everybody? As to if she's worth it, this is really good. I love skills that do this. This means now, if you're attacking the positive affinity with this buff right here, she's going to be able to have she'll only need a maximum of 70% crit rate. In fact, your entire team will only need the maximum of 70% crit rate. It works for 3 turns as well. And everybody gets this. I don't even know which one I would want to do first. I would think I would want to do this one and then maybe do this one. It's crazy. This is such a good skill for the arena. You can stun your target, so you can stun your Sifi, right? So just imagine that, guys. Just imagine that. You have a Sifi and a Rotos, and we were just talking about how it's tough when they're together because she'll just revive him at the beginning of the turn, unless you killed him with a block revive champion. Now you can go in and you can stun her. Now I imagine it still works. She's going to still revive him, but she's not going to be available to do any of her other skills, and you're going to be able to clean up the carnage or the afters with everybody else, with her out of the battle. So again, they've given us something to go after them with. And is she gettable though? So is she worth it? Yes. Is she gettable? Well, now we're really talking about some interesting things, because what do we have? A lot of people complaining about it. A summon rush right here and a champion chase. Over half of the shards that you need, in fact 75 of the 100, you could get through these 2 events. But for most people, unless you were saving, you're not going to be able to get those. And in fact, they've made it to the point where you could get every other event, the full reward for every other event. And if you don't get any of those, you will not get this champion. And so people don't like that. They say it's pay to play. I would tell you, I probably could have gotten it on my free-to-play account had I not pulled during the last times 10 event. Because I had a Sacred I had, I think, two or three voids? 2 or 3 voids, and I had about 7 ancients. Okay? I could have gotten one of these events. Probably would have, let's see. Which one would have been better to go for? Not sure which one would be better to go for, but I could have gotten some of these. I mean, honestly, it probably would be this one. It's a little bit bigger chunk. So if I could have gotten, say, 30, then I would have been fine. I could do the rest of the events, and if I was saving up energy, which I haven't been focusing on these events on my free to play account. Honestly, I know I could get to them by skipping one and saving up. But the thing is I want to play on the darn account. I don't want to save up all my resources because I actually want to play on it. So, if you can build up resources while you're playing, while you're doing all that, like shards, it's easy to store up on. Okay, you just skip an entire cycle of events, right? Whether it's times 10 or times 2, just skip it. Okay, you skip it. Get good at your clan boss. You're gonna get shards through the clan boss, and once you're past, is it hard? I think once you get to hard, you start getting an occasional ancient shard. But is it doable? And I mean, obviously, like I say, all the rest of these are totally doable. Anything in arena is fine. You just got to be on top of it. You might need to spend some gems to refresh, but those are not hard. The rest of these are going to take a lot of energy, so it's going to have counted, depended on whether or not you actually are progressed in dungeons or not. So if you're a new account, no way. Don't even talk to me. Like, what are you complaining about? You've been playing for 2 months and you think you should be able to go for this? I don't think so. It takes time to build in a free-to-play account. I've been playing on mine for 6 months now, and I can maybe just about... I feel like I can... After this one, I will be able to go for the next fusion or shard fragment event. But not right now, not yet. I didn't prepare for this one, and I wasn't going to, because I really been working on 6-starring champions and progressing in dungeons. But absolutely I could. Absolutely I could. All the rest of these is just a matter of saving up gems and energy. And then save up your shards for the summoning events, and you're fine. So is it fair? Yeah, I think it's fair. It requires patience. It just requires patience. On my low spend account, I'm debating on whether or not I'm going to be able to do it. I'm definitely going to collect a lot of them, but I just don't know if I want to go for this champion or not. Did I say she's worth it? Yeah, she is worth it. I mean, I unfortunately do not actually have the Catacomb Counselor anymore, guys. I do not have Catacomb Counselor anymore. Gone. Fused him. For this guy. And I actually had the opportunity to fuse him. I had the opportunity to fuse the Catacomb Counselor, and I unfortunately fused... what did I do? I fused him before I fused the lowers, because I got all the rares. So I could have done it, and I messed up. So now I don't have a ally attack champion. He was the only one I had. So I'm really hoping this guy gets buffed. So that's it for this time. This is Kreela Witch Arm. Are you going to go for it or not? I'm going to give it my best shot. Thanks for joining me here on the Lost Raiders, reminding you that X never, ever marks the spot.